And we welcome you to episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Coming up, we'll recap the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We'll get you up to date coaching changes, vacancies that have been filled, and what have you in that landscape. And then wrapping up the show, we will give you a preview of the AFC and NFC championship game and the Kirby on Sports pickup. This should be a lot of fun. It is episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. It comes your way next. Yes, indeed. We welcome you to episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kirby, and thanks so much for spending some of your time with us here on the podcast. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors, our title sponsor, Frederick County Parks and Recreation, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Bear Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, Icon Media, On the Road Driving School, in New Look Landscaping. Don't forget Barry Pearson with Equipment Share Advanced Solutions. And don't forget Don't Sleep Energy, the official energy drink sponsor of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. Not wasting any time. Unfortunately, Dan cannot be with us, but we do have the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, in the house. What is going on, brother?
What's going on, dude?
I missed it last week. Had a lot of fun at the Caps game, which we had wish we had another one to go to down the line, but that was some fun. Just a different sport, but able to get the crew back together and watch some hockey. Unfortunately, not going the Caps way, but still a lot of fun getting the three-man booth together once again.
Indeed.
So, divisional round of football, I'll tell you one thing. It was a lot of fun. There were a lot of fun games. There were some duds as well. Again, just a treat getting a chance to watch football and some excitement that kept me glued to the TV pretty much all weekend. And boy, I was tired afterwards.
When you said dud, I could not remember what game you were talking about because I've completely blocked that Seattle-San Francisco game out of my head because that was a hack job that was terrible. It's the worst game of the weekend, but it's okay.
So let's get right into it with the divisional round matchups, if you will, because we have a lot to cover on this episode of the podcast.
Can we talk news? I guess we can talk about it as we go on. Never mind. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. Free flowing. So here we go. We're going to start off in order as the games were played.
Mm-hmm.
Craziest matchup, I think, on Saturday, obviously. Broncos defeating the Bills 33-30 in overtime. Obviously, the question, was it a catch? Was it an interception? I mean, that's pretty much the argument out of the weekend. But, this game was very back and forth. I know the Bills committed a lot of turnovers in this game, which didn't help their cause, but Josh Allen doing what he does and bringing the offense back and forcing overtime, and the Broncos ending up kicking a game-winning field goal to win. But again, the storyline around this game is the fact, was it a catch or an interception?
What was it to you? What do you think?
I'll be honest, in real time, it looked like an interception because just because he rolled over and had the defender had the ball, and I couldn't really tell if he had the ball for any length of time. But there are other angles that show knee down, he has the ball and down by contact, which I'm like confused about. But did he complete the process of the catch? It's all very confusing, and I believe you said it before earlier in a previous episode, Carlos. What even is a catch anymore?
Yeah, I think that's the. I was wondering why. Like, I was like, why does my studio look so dark today? I know exactly why. So, sorry. Yeah, no, look, I agree. It's like, what is a catch anymore? And sorry, just distracted. That's why my backlight wasn't on. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I guess according to the letter of the law, it was an interception and it was not a catch. I think it's crazy that the refs didn't look at it just because of how close it was. And the fact that Sean McDermott even called a timeout, which of course we'll talk about him in a little bit. He called the timeout to give the refs some time to review it. And, the fact that they felt so confident that it was a catch to not, or that it was an interception to not look at it. I mean, the problem is you can freeze frame it at any point, but in motion, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a catch. It was an interception. And it was because it wasn't an incompletion. And he didn't survive the ground, essentially. And that's a key point is, yeah, sure, his knee was down. He was making contact, but he was going to the ground to make the catch. So he has to survive the ground, and he did not survive the ground. And the defender came up with it. Look, I'm not saying it's fair. Like, I think it's a dumb rule. I don't know. Like, it's hard to determine what's a catch and what's not a catch. But according to the letter of the law, the letter of the law, and of course, from the many, many experts that have talked about it on various other platforms and podcasts and stuff like that I've listened to, it was an interception.
It just confuses me too. In a playoff game of that magnitude being so close, why don't you just take a look at it, a further look?
Well,
just to make sure.
I thought all turnovers are reviewed. So it's like, that's where I'm confused about is why didn't they take a closer look to 100% make sure? Like, why was New York so quick to be like, yep, that was it. That's good. Move on.
I don't know. Again, furthering our point, your point and Dan's point there, that there should be like full-time officials and a process to.
Well, now I'm just like, I'm of the opinion of, because this happened in overtime. So it's like, okay, maybe the new rule is coaches should be allowed to challenge in overtime, because
that's
if
fair.
You're gonna, you can't, if New York's not going to review it, and it's something that should be reviewed, and a coach should be allowed to, challenge. Like, once it reviewed, he should be allowed to challenge. I don't understand why you can't challenge in overtime. Makes no sense.
Yeah, they handle everything in the booth. If they do that, take a closer look just to make sure. This is a playoff game. Win or go home.
Ultimately, I don't think. Yes, we would want them to take a closer look, but I don't think there was going to be enough there for them to overturn it anyway.
Ultimately,
that interception alone was not the reason why they lost that game.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, it doesn't help the fact that Josh Allen had 2 interceptions, and there were numerous turnovers by the Bills as well. That, you just can't have that in a divisional round game either. But still, credit to the Bills for making it a contest towards the end, but still, you can't have that many turnovers in a playoff game. You have to protect the football.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of common sense. If you lose the turnover battle, you usually lose the game.
So with that, the craziest news out of this whole deal, afterwards, we find out Bo Nix breaks a bone in his ankle and he is out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, when you sent that in the group chat, I was very, and just like many other reactions, is we were all very stunned at the news because, they were flying high. You just win a big playoff game against the Bills, and then all of a sudden, the Denver fan base is jubilant and celebrating, and then all of a sudden, Sean Payton comes out and breaks the news, hey, Bo Nix is hurt. But not only is he hurt, he's done for the season. He has a fractured bone in his ankle. And it wasn't even like we're going to do further tests and diagnosis to see if, to see what our options are. It was like just quickly, he's done. He's having surgery on Tuesday, and Stidham's going to be the quarterback going forward. And it's stunning. And I think it really torpedoed a lot of the excitement that the Denver fan base was feeling. And then for Buffalo, it was like, man, could he not have heard that like 3 plays earlier?
I sent that immediately when I saw it. I'm like, is this real? And I didn't even hear a response from either you or Dan. So I was
driving because I was not anywhere to be able to be answering that, but
No, I was just curious what your reactions were as soon as you were.
It was stunning. It was stunning. It was like, oh wow, okay. When did that happen? Because he finished the game.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I'm like, well, after the game, he did an interview. He walked. So
obviously he didn't know it was hurt. The adrenaline's pumping. Adrenaline is a big pain number.
I would say yes.
So that's why he, it wasn't until he got, he reacted to it. He was feeling it. You saw, like, after he heard it, they showed him on the sideline. He was reacting to the pain, trying to move around, keep it loose, thinking hopefully it's just like a sprain or something. And no, it turns out it was a broken ankle. But the crazy thing is that then he made that, pass that ended up being the pass interference call, to set them up into, field goal range, like literally the next play.
Yeah, and there's pass interferences. I was like, man, this just couldn't come at such a worse time to set Denver up in perfect position.
Yeah, that's the way the game goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, so with that, the Broncos defeat the Bills.
I feel like you're glazing completely over on how much, like, whose fault this loss was for Buffalo.
Well, no, I was getting to that. I'm just reiterating again the score 33-30. And with that, Buffalo still can't get over the hump. The big news, I don't know if we want to touch on it now or later on. Sean McDermott fired. He's gone. So I guess the question is, as you said, the blame game. Who gets blamed for this loss? Why can't Buffalo get over the hump? I don't really know that answer yet. If I were to say, I don't think you shoulder all the blame on Josh Allen because he's a hell of a competitor and he knows how to play the game of football. Obviously, the 2 interceptions didn't help, but I don't think you shoulder all the blame on him.
Okay. Here's where you keep messing up, Kirby. You're mentioning just the interceptions, but where are the fumbles? Where are the fumbles? Why aren't you mentioning the fumbles?
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing here?
That completely slipped my mind.
So he's got, the fumbles. Ultimately what lost them the game was that fumble to close the second half, or the first half. I'm sorry. It closes out the first half. He makes a boneheaded decision, completely botches that.
Yeah, I remember that. That completely.
And then it set Denver up in field goal range to go up 10 points going into halftime. Then they come out and he fumbles again. And James Cook also fumbled as well, but 4 of the 5 turnovers that Buffalo had were Josh Allen. This loss was on Josh Allen. It was not on Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott, surprisingly, from all my research on the Buffalo Bills fan base, because I have been very in tune with them these past couple of days ever since that loss, because I've just wanted, I wanted to feel what the enemy, what their fan base was going through. They talk all this noise and everything. I just wanted to see where they were at, when that game lost. As far as I can tell, the Buffalo fan base was not upset with Sean McDermott. As a matter of fact, they believe that if he was ever going to get fired, it should have been after their loss to Cincinnati. What was that, 2-3 years ago or whatever? That's when it should have been. Not now, when he has done a masterclass in coaching and doing so much with so little. And I'm tend to agree with them that I don't feel like this was the right time to fire him after you see the roster that they had and how far they got and how much success he has brought in the past 9 seasons. I mean, he's the coach that ended the drought. Everybody forgets Buffalo couldn't buy a trip to the playoffs. And then Sean McDermott comes in, he ends the playoff drought before Josh Allen. He did all of this before Josh Allen gets there. Josh Allen gets there, and they go on this great run. Obviously, we know they didn't get over the hump. Originally, when they fired him, I was like, I think this was the right move. They needed a change. As more details have come out, and as I've heard more from the Buffalo Bills fan base, I personally think this is a mistake because the grass may not be greener on the other side. And given the press conference that happened today with the owner and with the GM, who surprisingly got kept and got promoted, which, a lot of Buffalo fans thought originally that this was a coup situation, that the GM had, concocted this whole thing to get rid of Sean McDermott and to get more power for himself. It actually does not seem that way. And it seems like this was all the owner just making decisions and not really consulting with many people based off of what he felt in the locker room after that loss. So I think it was a mistake. I don't think that they should have fired him. I think Josh Allen does deserve a majority of the blame. I'm tired of everybody, cutting him slack, being like, oh, he's a great competitor. He's got all this talent. Guys, nobody gives Mahomes that type of, that type of leniency. Nobody gives Lamar that type of leniency. It's got to stop. At the end of the day, he is not the greatest quarterback playing right now. We all know who that really is. It's still Patrick Mahomes, even though he's hurt and has had a rough couple seasons. But at the end of the day, his rough couple seasons still ended in the Super Bowl and beating Josh Allen multiple times. So I'm done with this whole narrative that Josh Allen can do no wrong, that he doesn't deserve most of the blame, when it was his fault that they lost this game. It was his fault. Now, in terms of the McDermott firing, like I said, I believe it's a mistake. I don't think that they should have done it. And it'll be interesting to see where they go. I thought maybe this is setting up for them to promote Joe Brady from offensive coordinator to head coach, because maybe they just didn't want to lose him. But from what it's sounding like in that press conference, I don't think he's getting that job. And I don't know really where they're going to go better than Sean McDermott, honestly. Brian Daboll, we just saw what he did with the Giants. One good year, and that's it. Who else is really available?
Daboll worked with Josh Allen before.
Sure, but again, like I said, we saw what he did in New York. Wasn't great.
Yeah.
Do you really want him to be the guy to bank your next couple? Because Josh Allen is turning 30 years old. It's now or not. It's do or die now. There's a finite time left in his career. Josh Allen's not going to be like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and play well into his 40s. Josh Allen's probably going to retire around 38, or he might make it to 40. But you have about 3, 4, 5 more years of his prime. So you guys have to go in all in now. Do you really go Brian Daboll? And it's like there's a lot of candidates that they can't talk to yet because hilariously, it was Buffalo who wanted that rule that you can't talk to any of teams' coaches that are still playing in the playoffs. So now it's hindering their whole process. I mean, there's a lot of issues with Buffalo right now. They have a lot of issues with the cap. The team is not constructed very well. They have a good they have a good offensive line. Obviously, you have Josh Allen, so Josh Allen's gonna raise your floor, but you don't have a lot of great receivers. They mentioned Keon Coleman and that whole debacle that they're trying to throw on the coaching staff, even though there's clear evidence that the GM wanted Coleman also. The defense is built mostly for a Sean McDermott defense. And there's a lot of coaching candidates that you can't talk to. You missed out on some of the best ones in Harbaugh and Stefanski. Where do you go? Buffalo is in trouble. They are in trouble, and it'll be interesting to see how they figure this out because I don't know where they go from here. I'm actually like very worried for Buffalo right now that they might have made one of the worst decisions in franchise history and might suffer because of it.
Well, in just looking at the fan base, because I sort of followed like you did, but not as much, Carlos. But people are like the reset, talking about the reset and how you get rid of a coach who can't get you over the hump, and then a new coach comes in, brings you Super Bowl. I'm not sure if they can hope for that, but I'm not sure if they're going to get that in my mind. McDermott seemed like the best candidate to get this Bills team. I mean, the success he already had is remarkable. And to let McDermott go like that after a playoff loss, it's very shocking.
It's not shocking that because again, it had been multiple years of getting.
It shocked me.
It was not that shocking. I thought it was coming, anyways, because again, you look at the landscape this season. This was the year to do it. In fairness to Sean McDermott, he's not in charge of building the team, and he did the best with what he had. And they took the number 1 seed to the absolute limit. And had Josh Allen not made those turnovers, then, they would have won the game. They would have won. But that was the issue with this team. They had little wiggle room. They could not make these mistakes. And they made the mistakes against the Denver Broncos, and the Denver Broncos took advantage of it. Now, with all that being said, you have to look at the history, though. And the fact that they can't get over the Mahomes hump. They get the overtime rules changed after 13 seconds. The last 2 playoffs end with Josh Allen having the ball the way you want it to be. And at the end of the day, Sean McDermott is a defensive coach, and his defenses couldn't make the big stops when they needed to. So while, yes, he has brought a lot of success, and while, yes, I believe right now in this coaching cycle, he is the best candidate and he shouldn't have been fired, that's not me saying that there isn't a better option out there. There is a better option than Sean McDermott out there, but not available right now. You can go with the Kubiaks. You can promote Joe Brady. You can do all that stuff. I'm not sure if those guys are enough to push Buffalo, over the hump, basically. And it'll be interesting to see because I'm sure they're going to go with an offensive-minded head coach. for this go around. So whether that's Brian Daboll, whether that's Clint Kubiak, whether that's promoting Joe Brady, or I don't think they're going to bring in Mike Macdonald to be the head coach, considering that it didn't really work out. And I don't think he's a program builder the way Sean McDermott is.
You mean McDaniel?
McDaniels, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I said McDonald.
I was
thinking of what's his face from Seattle.
Yeah.
Anyways, my bad.
No,
anyway,
all good.
Yeah, Mike McDaniels, not McDonald's.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there, though. A lot out of this game to unpack.
I mean, yeah, but like, at the end of the day, the decisions were made. I'm just not sure if this owner is really the right guy to just do this right now. It seems like there's a lot going on with his family. Then you also just look at the way the Buffalo Sabres have been run. They're a travesty of a franchise, in hockey, which he owns. They also have that new stadium opening up, next year. So I don't know. I don't know. Boone, that's the name of the GM. He wasn't the one who selected Sean McDermott. So maybe he said something along the lines of, let me pick my guy, because by all accounts, McDermott and Boone had a lot of tension and issues with each other there towards the end. And it just was not working between them. And maybe the owner was like, well, let me give this guy a chance. Let me see what he does when he picks his guy. So we'll see, what happens. But as far as I'm concerned right now, it was not the right move.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how it develops over time and who the Buffalo Bills decide should be the next head coach of this franchise. And I agree with you, Carlos. I think they're going to bring in an offensive-minded guy to tailor to Josh Allen. Will that work? I don't know. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yep.
So with that, 33-30, the Denver Broncos are moving on one half of the AFC Championship game. We'll take a short break. We continue with more divisional round recap right after this.
Create lasting memories at the Someone Special Dance, presented by Finch Oral and Facial Surgery. Join us Saturday, February 7th, 2026, at West Oaks Farm and Market for a magical celebration filled with music, dancing, and smiles. Choose the time that works best for your family, 3 to 5 p.m. or 6 to 8 p.m. If you register before Thursday, January 1st, 2026, you'll save $5 per person. Dress up, hit the dance floor, and make memories your family will treasure for years to come. Register today for the Someone Special Dance, where every moment is worth celebrating.
For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Let's hit it. We are back, episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. For the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, I am Josh Kirby. Moving on with divisional round recap. I'm not sure if there's really much to say on this 41-6 Seattle Seahawks blowout over the San Francisco 49ers, but at least we can mention the score here.
I mean, it was a blowout from the start, and the injuries finally caught up to San Francisco. And look, it was a hell of a coaching job by them to be able to do that with all the injuries they suffered and sustained to get to the divisional round and to win as many games as. I mean, you got to think they were competing for the 1 seed, on the final week of the season. So Yeah, I mean, kudos to them. And, all that hoopla about Sam Darnold having an oblique injury and that he hadn't thrown all week, and all that.
an
Looks
oblique
fine.
injury.
It's a bunch of nonsense, man. Like just getting people riled up for nothing. But Seahawks look good. It sucks for San Francisco that they were so depleted and injured. But hope. It was a masterful coaching job by that coaching staff and a great effort by the San Francisco 49ers to do what they did.
Yeah, I agree. It's just Seattle just looked like a high-flying, powerful team. It started with the opening kickoff, Rashid Shaheed, and it was crazy that 49ers kicker got a penalty for tripping him, and they still made it into the end zone. So, I mean, that was an electrifying atmosphere. I know Seattle has been waiting quite some time for playoff football to return because I know it hasn't been there in a little while, but seeing the 12th man, you had Doug Baldwin up there waving the towel. That place was nuts. In playoff football in Seattle, that's something different, Carlos.
Yeah. I mean, that's just Seattle.
What will always make me laugh about this game is what wasn't done on the field but before, just the 49ers coming out with that boombox on the guy's shoulder dancing, and then all the memes coming after it because they only put up 6 points.
I didn't see any memes, so I don't have a comment.
Yeah, but I mean, Seattle,
I'm not chronically online like you are.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Seattle just
there's not really much to say on this game. We can move on.
They're really primed. They are really primed. I'm excited for this upcoming weekend to see how they do against the Rams, and we'll get into that more later. But I think that's pretty much all we have.
There's not much to say.
Hey, that's a record. The shortest segment talking about a game here on the Kirby on Sports.
We've literally just set a score to a game and moved on.
Yeah. All right. We'll take another short break, and we are back with more episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barn wood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, welcome back. Episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Carlos Martinez. I am Josh Kirby. We move into the Sunday slate of divisional round action. The New England Patriots with a 28-16 victory over the Houston Texans in what was a very snowy and sleety game. Highlight of this game, CJ Stroud, 4 interceptions. Houston seemed to just shoot themselves in the foot with the amount of costly turnovers in this game. In New England, I just think wanted this game more, but another factor, nobody wanted to possess the football, as you said. Fumbles all the time, very sloppy, I think, due to the weather.
I mean, yeah, obviously it was due to the weather. Whether New England wanted this more, I don't necessarily know that. I won't say that the Texans didn't want this. Their defense wanted it. It's just offensively, CJ Stroud was terrible. And I mean, Troy Aikman said it best on the broadcast, and everybody's emphasized, his comment about, he's been chasing the success he had his rookie year for the last 2 years and can't seem to find it. Something is going wrong, and they need to figure out what's wrong. And it's true, and I was literally thinking, I've been thinking the same thing for, the last couple seasons too. I'm just like, I think he just felt himself too much after that rookie year, that he felt like he had made it. And I don't necessarily know if he's putting in the work that he needs to put in, because it just looks like he can't even throw a pass. He can't read a defense anymore. And I don't understand why. I mean, this playoff showing that he had against the Steelers and the Patriots was terrible. And honestly, they should have been knocked out in the first round. Had they played Baltimore, they would have been knocked out in the first round because they just couldn't do anything. But luckily they came up against an Aaron Rodgers who can't, who can't deal with pressure in his face. And yeah, I mean, but now they came up against, one of the MVP candidates who also didn't necessarily have a great game, but it was mostly because he couldn't hold on to the ball and he was, fumbling like crazy, and it was just a bad weather game. And yeah, I mean, look, Houston's got to figure that out. And I know that CJ was probably looking for an extension this offseason, but based off of what we've seen, I don't think they can give it to him. They have a 5th-year option that they can take. I would take the 5th-year option, let him play out this 4th year on his contract, and then determine, hey, do we give this guy a big-time contract or not? You got to put some pressure on this kid to actually do the work. And we know CJ Stroud is good. We've seen him be great. We've seen what he can do, but for something has stunted his development. And I don't know if maybe they need a new offensive coordinator or something. It doesn't help that he didn't have Nico Collins. He lost Dalton Schultz in this game. Obviously, Tank Dell still hasn't come back from that gruesome leg injury that he suffered last year in Kansas City. He had Christian Kirk, but that clearly wasn't enough. So they need a better running game. They need to work on that abysmal offensive line. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on that offensive side. So that could be also why his development has stunted, because he just doesn't have weapons. He doesn't feel, I mean, and it's true. There's been a lot of film breakdowns that I've watched where he panics so quickly in the pocket, even when he's got a clean pocket. When there's no defender really around him, he immediately freaks out and wants to go. And it's like, dude, just step up in the pocket and you have time. You're okay. There's a lot that needs to be done with CJ Stroud. And hopefully he gets it done, because I want to see him succeed. But given what we saw, I mean, that was some of the worst football I've ever seen. They should have benched him at halftime. I don't know why Ryan Clark was so passionate that he needed to stay on the field or whatever. I'm just like, dude, this isn't about that. Like, honestly, I feel like Davis Mills would have done a way better job, because at that point, the Patriots weren't even pulling away yet, and the Texans were still in it. I think Davis Mills would have done a better job than CJ Stroud at that point. But they didn't. They stuck with CJ Stroud. It costed them the game. But then also, finally, New England started moving. And then there was that crazy booty catch, from Drake May to, booty. And yeah, it was a sloppy game, great defensive game by the Patriots. And, the Texans defense did the best that they could. But eventually, when you're going out there constantly and your offense isn't giving you any points, they're not really contributing, and you're expected to do pretty much everything, eventually they're going to tire themselves out. So good on the Patriots. Phenomenal job by Mike Vrabel to go take this team from a 4-13 record to the AFC Championship game. I mean, just a crazy turnaround. Maybe it's a year too early, but this is how the cards played out, and we'll see how they do in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think it's good for the city in New England to see.
New England's not a city; that's a region.
Really?
Are you kidding me right now?
It's not a city?
Why am I even surprised? This is coming from the guy who didn't know that there was a Kansas City, Missouri, and a Kansas City, Kansas. Brother, learn your geography. Why would there ever be a city called New England? Please tell me you're pulling my leg right now.
I slipped up. The fans of the New England Patriots, let's say that, they're deserving of this because
are they, Kirby? Are they though?
Let me finish.
Are they deserving? They got a 20-year dynasty.
Yeah, but then there was a drought.
It hasn't been even 10 years, and they're already back.
I know, because they put the right people in place.
They did not, though. They lucked into this, in all honesty.
Really?
Kirby, they stuck with Belichick way past his prime. Then they got Gerard Mayo last season when they could have had Vrabel. They could have had Vrabel last year, but no, they went with Gerard Mayo, and they thought he was the heir apparent. And then they brought Vrabel in. And then also, luckily, Josh McDaniels.
Yes.
Josh McDaniels was available to be the offensive coordinator again.
Well, the only reason, and if I remember this,
and this is coming from the biggest, I'm talking about you, the biggest dynasty hater there is. You hated the Patriots back then, and now you're like, oh, their fans deserve it, as if they didn't just get 6 Super Bowls in 20 years. Yeah, they totally deserve. They suffered so much, Kirby. They suffered so much.
Listen, if I remember this correctly, they could have had Vrabel last year.
I just said that. Did I not just say that?
No, but the reason why, it was written in Gerard Mayo's contract that he would be the next head coach after Belichick leaves.
Sure.
That's what I heard.
Sure.
All right, well.
I don't know anything about Gerard Mayo's contract. All I know is that they could have gotten Vrabel last year.
Yeah,
they wanted him.
Yeah, so yeah. Besides that, going back to that booty cat.
I know it's hilarious to say.
That was I saw that play. I'm like, it
was crazy. It was nuts.
Oh my God. I stood up in my basement and screamed.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I was, and I probably texted, wow.
I don't think you texted for that one.
Well, anyways, the Patriots, another half of the AFC Championship game. They are moving on to the AFC Championship game. We got one more game to cover. We'll talk about that next in a very chilly NFC Divisional Round being played in Chicago. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey there, Kirby on Sports the Podcast fans. Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here for you. Remember, if you have any real estate needs, buying or selling, I'm your guy. I would love to help you out. And you can also find me on my own personal podcast, Iconic Talk, where you get a chance to learn about the local real estate market and why Winchester is an amazing place to live. Reach out to me anytime, 540-247-1527, and find Iconic Talk anywhere you get your podcasts.
Let's hit it. Episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, as always, for Carlos Martinez. I am Josh Kirby. Let's talk about the coldest matchup of the weekend, I would imagine. The Rams from Los Angeles traveling to the 2-seed Chicago Bears. My goodness, what an ending. Just what a game. The elements were fitting for Chicago, and the fan base was electric. and it came down to overtime in what was a very, very exciting game. The Bears coming up short 20-17. Harrison Mevis with a field goal by the Rams to end up winning the game. Just overall, a fitting end to the divisional round of the playoffs, seeing a great game like this. And I was well entertained for the most part.
Well entertained, and you called it too early, as you always do. You thought that the Rams had it won before that incredible drive by the Bears, where Caleb Williams throws, what's going down is only a 14-yard touchdown, which we all know was way longer than that. That pass was incredible. That was one of the craziest plays ever. Obviously, I'm sitting there stressing because our pick'ems are coming down to it, and I was the only one that picked the Rams. And if I would have lost that game, it would have been game over. It would have been game over. And but I'm still alive. We'll talk about it during the pick'em segment.
Dropping back on 4th down, turning around and just slinging one to the end zone. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I've seen it before. We have a quarterback by the name of Patrick LeVon Mahomes in the league who has made many plays like that before. Yet people have seemed to forgotten that man exists. But it's okay. He will remind you all that he has done that plenty of times. That's nothing new. That's why I was the first thing I thought of, Patrick Mahomes. That was a Patrick Mahomes play right there. It was just a perfectly well-placed pass. It was, I thought the play was done. I was like, oh my God, victory. And then he catches it, and I was like, there's no way that happened. And then, you had already given up on the Bears at that point. You were like, I think the Rams just won this. And I was like, cardiac Bears incoming. And then guess what? The cardiac Bears happened again. Unfortunately, their magic ran out in overtime. Caleb Williams throws the interception, and Stafford drives him down the field into field goal range, and that's all she wrote. And, you were distraught because Ben Johnson didn't call timeouts. And I'm just like, it was not a bad strategy because maybe the kicker was expecting a timeout, so he was going to take this kick seriously, and maybe he was going to miss it. It wasn't the worst play in the world. I would have personally called the timeout, but he didn't call the timeout.
No, well, I thought I heard a whistle on TV, but I guess I didn't, and I was just sitting back. I see the kick go. I'm like, oh, they called timeout. Then I hear the call. I'm like, wait, they didn't call a timeout. I was just confused, and I was like, I thought they would have called the timeout, but
logically, right? Yeah, but also I could see why he didn't, because maybe it's to kind of throw the kicker off, because maybe he was expecting a timeout. So he wasn't going to take this kick seriously. He's like, they're going to call a timeout. I'm just going to, just swing this one. And if it goes in, it goes in, but I know I'm going to get another shot.
Yeah. But it just,
given where we are in Chicago, in the Windy City, the wind had picked up in that stadium. It wasn't out of the question that maybe it was going to double doink or something.
That is true. I do have an issue though. And I don't know if you'll agree with me here, but the Bears are driving, a chance to end the game in overtime. And you throw them a deep pass, and it's intercepted. Why are you going for a long pass? Just take chunks, run it. Smart short throws. You're going for a deep pass, and Cam Curl, former Washington player, intercepts
Shut the hell up.
I just had to throw that in there. But, I feel like if that pass doesn't go and they make shorter, smarter throws in that situation.
They were doing that. But at a certain point, this is the Caleb Williams experience, Kirby. He gets impatient, and he wanted a big play. And it was a miscommunication between him and DJ Moore. DJ Moore should have kept going and fought more for the ball. But by the time Caleb had thrown the pass, it was already too late. DJ had already given up on the route and needed to try to make ground. And at that point, the defender was already there to pick it off. This is the Caleb Williams experience. That's what happens. And at the same time, it wasn't necessarily a bad play. They were moving the ball. Take a chance here and there. And I get it. Like, be smart, just take chunk plays or whatever. But that's not Caleb Williams' game. He lives in the chaos. He doesn't like structure and boringness and being a game manager. No, he's a wild card. This is where he thrives. That's how he can make those great plays that he made against Green Bay and against the Rams. It costed him this time. It is what it is. Like I said, that's the Caleb Williams experience. He will grow from it. He will learn from it. And so will Ben Johnson. It was a great season for Chicago. And
I agree.
It was a lot of fun. I feel like Chicago was definitely the most entertaining team to watch just because of how each game kept playing out for them. And they have a lot to be excited about, that the fact that, everybody thought Caleb might be a bust after his rookie year because it wasn't good. But now you got him under a great coach in his second year, and he almost goes to the NFC Championship game. And you get a 2 seed. You guys beat the Packers twice, fulfilled the prophecy that Ben Johnson said that he loves beating LaFleur 2 times a year. Well, he did it. He beat them 2 times this season. There's a lot to be positive about with the Bears. For the Rams, it wasn't necessarily the best performance, but given the weather conditions, the fact that Stafford has a hurt finger, and Chicago just playing out of their mind, they still managed to come through in the biggest moment. And I think that's what matters most here, is that the, presumptive MVP pulled through and got his team through even on a tough night, which is all you can ask for.
I agree. You get it done any way you can in the playoffs, and I think that's what this Rams team did. And I think it was on Twitter, I believe, but Sean McVay just gathering his team together and we're going to go down and win this thing. The confidence he has in this Rams team too. I know a while back, the Rams pretty much put all the chips in to win that Super Bowl against Cincinnati. Yes, Cincinnati. We were talking about, do they have another shot, I believe, and whatnot. And they're 1 game away from going back to the Super Bowl. And this is,
it's taken them a while to get back. They did mortgage their future on it. Remember, that Super Bowl was in 2022. Mm-hmm. Was that the 2021?
I think 22.
It was 22. Yeah, that one was 2022. It was the 2021 season, but it happened in 2022. We're in 2026. It took them 4 years, to build this team up. And they got very lucky on Puka Nacua. And, now they have Devontae Adams on this team. It hasn't been easy. They've had to really rebuild with what they had, and they got very lucky on some picks that came in later rounds. So, look, they have another shot here. They're facing a familiar opponent for the 3rd time this season in Seattle. Them and Seattle have gone to the wire both times. LA has essentially dominated those games for the most part, and then Seattle comes on strong at the end. So it'll be about finishing, I think, for LA, because they know how to play this team, and they know they have the weapons to beat this Seattle team. Everybody's hyping them up because of, we'll talk about more of this later on, but yeah, look, in terms of this game, it was the best performance you could get out of the conditions and out of the, situation that was thrown in front of the Rams. And for Chicago, obviously it's about, Caleb throwing the interception to kind of end the game and their luck kind of running out. So now the goal is going into this offseason is, hey, let's stop being the cardiac Bears and making comebacks. Let's go. Let's start from the jump.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You said it pretty much all. But again, all in all, I believe you will agree with me here, Carlos. A great way to end the divisional round of the playoffs. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right. So with that, the Rams over the Bears 20-17. We're gonna break down some coaching hires and some moves from around the league in our next segment. Then after that, we preview the championship round in both the AFC and NFC, and we get you our picks on the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. We'll be back right after this.
Bed bugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bed bug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bed bugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
It's Jason, General Manager at Shenandoah Music, here to tell you all about...
Jay, what are you doing here?
Well, Matt, I'm trying to tell the people about our selection of guitars, basses, keyboards, drum sets.
I know that, but I always do the radio spots.
You get to have all the fun. I want to tell everyone about our huge selection, unbeatable prices, unmatched service, and in-depth knowledge.
Jay, I really don't think now is the time to discuss.
So remember, folks, when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester.
That's my line.
All right, we're back. Episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Carlos Martinez, I am Josh Kirby. We gave you a recap of the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Before we move forward, though, I think it would be good to fill some of the show with the updated coaching vacancies in the National Football League and any other notable news and headlines from across the way. So far, as we have it up till this very moment as we're recording, the Giants hired John Harbaugh as their head coach from Baltimore, obviously Baltimore letting him go. The Falcons picking up Kevin Stefanski, which I think is a really great move. The Dolphins picking up, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Most recently, the Titans picking up Robert Saleh as their next head coach. Just overall, a lot more teams need to get filled. But so far, how do you like these moves throughout the league when it comes to these head coaches, Carlos?
I mean, they're okay. I'm not blown away by any of them. I mean, we'll see how Harbaugh does in New York. If he can do what he did in Baltimore. Stefanski, it'll be kind of the same thing. Right now, Atlanta's in the same situation that the Browns are in. They don't really have a quarterback. I don't really know how good Penix is. Penix hasn't been great this past season, and then the season before that, he did okay. So he hasn't wowed me. Kirk Cousins actually was much better, here towards the end, but how many years does Kirk Cousins really have? The Dolphins one does nothing for me. I'm just like, cool. And then the one that surprised me was the Titans going with Robert Saleh as their head coach, because by all accounts, that was Matt Nagy's job. And, he was even having dinner with the owner and all them on Sunday night. And then all of a sudden they go with Robert Saleh. And it was like, whoa, I didn't even know Robert Saleh was really in contention for that, considering that he had been, he technically couldn't talk to the Titans because he was with the 49ers and they just got eliminated. So that must have came around quickly. Jobs that are still open are the Cardinals, the Browns, the Ravens are still open. Obviously, the Bills are available. Steelers are available. And Raiders. So there's a lot of coaching vacancies still open, and there's not really a lot of great candidates out there that are available. So I'm sure Nagy's going to get one of those jobs. Maybe. I don't know. But McDermott's going to get one of those jobs because by all accounts, it looks like he wants to continue coaching. He doesn't want to take a year off. We know Tomlin's not in the running because He wants to take a break. He wants to go he wants to go do TV for a year and then maybe come reevaluate and come back, the following year. Also, a team has to be willing to trade assets for him because the Steelers still have his rights. Sean McDermott's out there. Mike McCarthy's out there. Mike McDaniel's out there. That's all. Yeah, I don't necessarily have a lot to add in on some of these coaching hires because I just don't know yet.
I agree. Here's some more news. So it was reported that unless something drastic changes, Mike McDaniel will become the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, working with Justin Herbert. What's that?
When was that reported?
I believe couple 2-3 days ago.
I've heard nothing about him becoming the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Nobody's talked about that.
Really?
No, I don't know where you got that from.
Well, it was, let's see. I have to find it here. Yeah, last night, Schefter tweeted it.
Okay. So nobody's talking about it. I don't know how true it is. We'll see. I don't think it's a bad move if he does become the offensive coordinator there.
Yeah, I like it. I think that help with
where at the Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers.
How is he going to become the offensive coordinator there when they have the floor broke? No, I'm sorry. He's with the Rams.
Yeah.
Never mind. I take that back.
So I don't know.
I don't hate it. I think we saw he's a good offensive coordinator. We saw what he did with the Niners when he was their offensive coordinator.
I agree.
I just don't think I think he's like Josh McDaniels, where hilarious, another McDaniel. Where they're great offensive coordinators, but they're not great head coaches. It's kind of the same thing with Spags. Spags, great defensive coordinator, awful head coach.
Here's one. I don't know if you really follow this, but the Buccaneers hire special teams coordinator Danny Smith.
I don't know who that is.
He was with the Steelers for quite some time. Really big reputation.
Don't know and don't care.
No, okay. Brian Flores has a contract extension in Minnesota if he does not get a head coaching job. So he will either be
my guess is he's probably going to get a head coaching job, and don't know where it's going to be, whether it's Baltimore, whether it's Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is talking to Mike McCarthy.
Correct.
Which I don't hate that move, actually. I actually really like it. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He grew up there. And we saw what he did with Dallas, and what he did with Green Bay. He's a good program builder. And that is what the Pittsburgh Steelers need. They need to rebuild the program in a different way than from what Mike Tomlin had. Because I'm not saying Mike Tomlin's not a program builder. We know he's a program builder. But this needs to be something different. And they need more of I think Mike McCarthy makes sense for Pittsburgh. I also think he makes sense for Buffalo. I also think he makes sense for Actually, I think those are the only two teams that make sense for. I think the job that nobody's really talking about right now is Arizona because there's so much uncertainty there. You don't have a quarterback because, Kyler, it looks like the Cardinals want to move off of Kyler Murray. And yeah, it's just not a very favorable job.
I would agree. Let me get your thoughts on this. It was reported that the Eagles' offensive coordinator job is not an attractive position.
They interviewed Mike McDaniel, and he said no. And look at all the weapons you would have to play with. You would think that would be a favorable job because you have, Jalen Hurts, who we know that when, he can play, decent at least, right? You have a great offensive line when healthy. You have Saquon Barkley, who almost had the record not that long ago. And it's not like he was like hurt at all this season. It's just the scheme sucked. and he couldn't get going. You have crazy good receivers, obviously they're going to have to figure out the Dallas Goedert thing, whether they bring him back or not, because his contract is up. The AJ Brown situation has to be figured out, whether he wants to stay in Philly or not. I guess there was reports coming out that he had requested trades throughout the season and they told him no. The vibes are bad in Philly right now. And it's known that that's a tough place to be. And it worked out for Shane Steichen. Got a head coaching job in Indianapolis. But then it didn't work out for who were the offensive coordinators the next season? Didn't they bring in Matt Patricia to help with the offense?
I don't
If I remember correctly, Matt Patricia was a part of that Eagles staff after they lost the Super Bowl to
actually, you might be correct.
I think so, but he came in as a consultant like halfway through the season because the guy they had, I can't remember his name, but he was a Nick Sirianni guy. So, and then obviously that goes to crap. So then
Brian Johnson, right?
No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. Anyways, they move off of those two. They bring in Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore revitalizes this offense and then gets a head coaching job in New Orleans after they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Kellen Moore than before Brian Johnson. Because Brian Johnson is now an offensive assistant for the Commanders.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Yeah. So they move off of him. They go to Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore brings a lot of success to this offense, a lot of creativity. The Eagles look unstoppable. He gets the job down there. Guess what? They go with another Sirianni guy, and with Patullo, and it has gone completely haywire and has looked terrible. They need to find a guy who's going to revitalize this team, and who knows who it is, because like you said, it's not a desirable position. Is this where Matt Nagy goes? Maybe, because they said the thing with Matt Nagy is if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he didn't want to come back to Kansas City because he wanted to get play calling, done. Well, here's your chance. You can go to Philly and try to do it. I don't know how well that's going to go, but we'll see.
And most recently, Eric Bieniemy, a reunion back in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on round 2 with Eric Bieniemy?
I love it. I think this is a great move. Look, at the end of the day, I know a lot of Chiefs fans wanted somebody outside of the Reed, tree and, system and all that stuff. They wanted somebody who's going to bring in fresh new ideas, and, they wanted guys like Kubiak. No, I'm sorry. What were the options out there? What's the guy's name from the Rams? The pass game? Is it Mintier?
Jesse. No, that's Chargers. Jesse Minter.
Crap. I can't remember who the guy is.
For the Rams? Sure.
For the Rams. It's the pass game it's their pass game guy. I can't remember his name. It slipped my mind.
Nate Shelheed.
Yes, him.
Yeah. I've never heard of him.
Well, he's apparently like the next hot commodity out of the McVay tree. They wanted him to come. They wanted him. They wanted Mike McDaniel. But at the end of the day, Andy Reid is not going to. He's not going to do that. He's going to bring in somebody, that he knows, one of his guys, him and Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy left suddenly. We weren't necessarily sure why. Well, we knew why. He wanted a head coach opportunity. And the thing that was holding him back and constantly after going through many cycles, even though we had a lot of success with him as an offensive coordinator, the thing was he wasn't calling plays. So he went to Washington to go call plays. Didn't work out.
What a monstrosity.
Goes to UCLA. In fairness, you guys didn't give him crap to work with. You guys gave him, what's his name? Sam Howell?
Yeah.
Who you thought was the greatest quarterback ever because he had a high passing yards, and we had to talk you down from that. Yeah. Don't think I forgot. I remember everything.
It seems like in his journey that we even forget he had one season in Washington.
Nobody forgets that. Everybody brings that up. Nobody's forgetting that. He went to Washington, then he went to UCLA for a year to be their offensive coordinator, and then he went to go be the running backs coach for Chicago and was under Ben Johnson for a year. So he's picked up a lot, I'm sure. And at the end of the day, what it seems like all the Chiefs players have been saying, and what everybody, all the reporting between the difference between Nagy and Bieniemy, is Nagy didn't hold guys accountable the way Eric Bieniemy is going to hold them accountable. Eric Bieniemy is the bad cop. Andy Reid is the good cop. And we saw how successful that was going into the Super Bowl against the Eagles, the first round. Yeah. Look at who they were working with. Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore. Those were the guys. And then we saw the following season when Bieniemy left, we struggled to get anything going offensively. And luckily, we had a generational defense that led the way to the Super Bowl. And then the offense did just enough to win the games. And then ultimately, Patrick ended up winning the Super Bowl at the end. And then we saw the problems continued into the next season, which we were winning a lot of one-score games, sure. But again, that was on the back of our defense mostly. Our offense wasn't doing much. And we were just getting sloppy and we weren't doing things. And it's hard to change up your scheme. Now, hopefully Andy refreshes his scheme a bit because it's a little outdated now. And he refreshes the scheme, brings in new ideas, takes ideas from Bieniemy, from what he maybe gathered from his time away. And yeah, personally, I think this is a great hire because what's the word? We have proof that this works.
Yeah.
And why not bring the guy back that's going to that's going to pay attention to the details? Because that's been the issue the past few seasons since he left. The players aren't paying attention to the details and aren't being held accountable. Eric Bieniemy is going to do that. Not only on top of that, they brought in a brand new wide receivers coach who has been in the league for a while, who was the wide receiver coach for the Patriots during their dynasty. We got rid of a guy who only had high school experience, to be who was our former wide receivers coach. We need a new running backs coach, but Bieniemy's there, so Bieniemy's great with the running back. So hopefully that means our running back play is going to be better. We need to figure out who our running back is, whether it's still going to be Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, or if we're going to go out, draft a guy or sign a guy in free agency like Breece Hall or, all that. But I think this is a great move by the Chiefs because we didn't need a scheme guy. At the end of the day, it's Andy Reid's scheme. We need a guy who's going to hold the team accountable. And that's what Bieniemy's going to bring. We don't have to worry about the defensive side. We know Spags has that. The offense needs that accountability held. And it's something that Patrick Mahomes has mentioned. It's something that Travis Kelce has mentioned, which, by the way, it looks like he's going to be coming back considering his comments on New Heights today. And yeah, I thought it was a great move.
Other than that, I don't have any other moves. Am I missing any that you wanted to touch on?
No.
All right. Well, that is sort of a look at where the landscape is with teams who have hired head coaches, teams who have not yet, and coordinators offensively and defensively abroad. We're going to take one final break, and when we return, we give you a look at championship weekend and give you our picks coming up next on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Are you looking to take the final steps in order to get your driver's license? Look no further. On the Road Driving School offers teen and adult driving, along with classroom sessions for teens and adults, DMV re-exam classes, and driver improvement classes. On the Road Driving School has what you need in order to get on the road. Contact them today at 540-869-6105. That's On the Road Driving School, 540-869-6105. On the Road Driving School will get you on the road. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the best segment on this good to average podcast, the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. But first and foremost, a look at the playoffs. It comes down to 4 teams, with one team out of the AFC and one team out of the NFC going to Super Bowl 60. It's the Patriots and the Broncos, and it's the Rams and the Seahawks. Carlos, I still can't believe we're down to the Final Four.
I agree.
I'm going to miss it so much.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but you know what that means. Time to run it back for a good DC football franchise, am I right?
No, we got the World Cup to worry about.
You're not even worried about UFL?
Nobody cares about the UFL.
Defenders, man.
Sure, because you watched every game last season.
No, I didn't.
I know.
Not all of them, but you know. All right, so
any of them.
So that's a look at the playoff picture. Let's get into the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. Carlos with all the stats and information as well. Let's get into it.
Yeah, that's not the one we technically want, but I guess we'll start off here. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the conference championship game weekend. Currently things are tough, I guess you could say, but your boy survived last week, but we do have an official result. Ashamed to show his face, Dan Dembski has officially clinched the Kirby zone. Kirby, how does it feel to finally not finish in last place?
Finally, I'm out of the basement.
It's about time. It's about time.
I am putting on the shades, damn it.
Here's the sad reality of it, though, is as you can see right here, Kirby is technically one game off from being, had we not had the secret picker, of being in first place. An opportunity to win was there for him. But because I introduced the secret picker, he cannot win the pick'ems given what's going to transpire this week. So, if you guys are wondering, yes, the secret picker is currently still in first place, but they had an abysmal week, and your boy closed the gap. I didn't, not just me. Kirby also closed the gap as well. So, the secret picker currently sits at 70-48. 2-game lead with 3 games left. So they are in first place. I am in second place with a 68-50 record. Kirby is in third place with a 67-51 record. And Dan, like we said, clinched the Kirby zone, is in last place at 63-55. Of course, we are only picking 2 games this week. We made up the game that we had been missing the whole year after the Dallas Green Bay tie. We made it up with the national championship. Shout out to Indiana giving me and Kirby a point and costing Dan and our secret picker a point because they both picked Miami. So yes. So we'll be picking just the conference championship game, the Broncos versus the Patriots, the Seahawks versus the Rams. The secret picker is contractually obligated to take the Denver Broncos. They root for the Denver Broncos even though they don't watch any football, but they are from Denver. So they are contractually obligated to pick the Broncos, and they will also pick the Seahawks. I will be taking the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. The only person taking the Rams is me. Why am I taking the Rams, you may ask? Well, it was a tough decision. It truly was. I did not make my decision until today that I was going to pick the Rams. And the reason why I'm going with the Rams, everybody knows why we're going with the Patriots. It's because Jarrett Stidham, come on, let's be honest here. And that's not saying that the Rams can't, or that the Broncos can't pull it off. The Broncos can't, they can do it. That defense is good. Stidham just needs to play halfway decent. And then, they can win the game. I just don't think you can I can put my money on a guy that hasn't thrown an official NFL pass in 2 years.
And these pick'ems might be differently if Bo Nix is healthy.
I agree with you. And there's the whole thing with Nick Foles being like, oh, the Patriots struggle with backup quarterbacks, which, they do. Good for him. But I think the thing that we have to consider here is Nick Foles going into that playoff run. That injury happened in the regular season. He had a couple games to get going, and then he had the whole entire playoffs. Jarrett Stidham's going right into the fire. He's going right into the biggest game of his career, right into the biggest game in 10 years, in Denver with the AFC Championship game. You're going to get some Vrabel defense that has played very well in the playoffs. They're going to have to ride that defense essentially. But we'll see. But the reason why I'm going with the Rams is just because, they played each other very well, both games. And Sam Darnold struggles against this Rams defense. It's just then the Rams defense, for some reason, and the Rams offense did not really go for the kill shot. It took overtime for Seattle to win their last game in Seattle. And LA was dominating that game going into the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, Sam Darnold went on a magical run and got them the win. So I think this time LA is gonna have the killer instinct, and they're gonna get it done. I'll go over Dan's picks real quickly. Dan is gonna go with the Patriots and the Seahawks, probably for the same reasons. The Patriots, he just can't trust Jarrett Stidham. We don't know anything about Stidham. If the Broncos do it, so be it. And then the Seahawks, I mean, you can't blame them for taking the Seahawks. They look damn good against the 49ers. So. And that defense is pretty stout. So it's not going to be easy for the Rams, but I think the Rams can do it. And with that, we throw it to the host, CEO, and no longer owner of the Kirby Zone, finally free of his shackles, Josh Kirby.
Thank you very much, Carlos. I'm picking the New England Patriots. Don't want to put a lot of stock into Jarrett Stidham, so we'll just have to wait and see. Can the Broncos shock the world?
It's crazy to say that. It's crazy to say that considering they are the 1 seed, but it's true. Can they shock the world right now?
See, Carlos, this goes to show what a crazy year in the NFL it's been.
This season's made no sense.
This next one's a coin flip. I'm picking Seattle. This is going to be a game for the ages, in my opinion. I just think Seattle.
I'm glad it's
the home team. The 12th man. I mean, I just think it's going to be more electric for Seattle, and they're going to want it a little bit more. That's just me.
That's fair.
This could go either way.
That's fair.
So
I agree. This is a coin flip. It was really hard to make the pick. But here is another reason why I picked the Rams. Ladies and gentlemen, I have fought tooth and nail to get back into this race, to remain your Pick'ems champion, because this belt does not belong with an outsider. Josh Allen let me down. The Eagles let me down, because had Josh Allen just done the basic stuff and won that game against Denver, right now, me and the secret picker would be tied going into this week, and there wouldn't have to be so much stock. But we're in a predicament at the moment, because both my picks are different from the secret picker. We're risking it to get the biscuit right now, to go into the Super Bowl tied. But we have no room for error anymore. If the secret picker picks one game correct, if Denver wins or if Seattle wins, it is over. They clinch the title, and their identity will be revealed at the Super Bowl pregame show. But if your boy does the impossible, gets these 2 wins, goes into the Super Bowl tied with the secret picker, pulls off one of the greatest comebacks ever with a 6-game deficit going into the playoffs, pulling off one of the greatest things ever that you'll ever see your champion do, winning it all. We will never know the identity of the secret picker. But if the secret picker does win this and the Super Bowl, then we will bring them on the Super Bowl recap episode. It is exciting times in our pick'ems. And trust me, we figure it out with the first game, because if the Broncos win, it's over. There's just no coming back. And then we go into the second game, it'll still be the same thing. If the Seahawks win, it's over, because then the secret picker will have a 3-game lead. No, if it just depends where it is. But if the Broncos win, they will have a 3-game advantage with only 2 games left. If the Patriots win, but then the Seahawks win, they will have a 2-game advantage with only 1 game left. Look, I don't want you guys to meet this person. Not yet, at least.
Okay.
I don't want to have to sit there at the Super Bowl pregame show and have to eat, crow while this person rubs it in my face that they dethroned the undethronable, the guy who has won this championship 3 years running. But our kingdom is under attack, and your tribal chief, your 3-time, soon to be 4-time champion, is going to do all he can to not let this outsider, who was only supposed to come in and make it a little more interesting, not actually win the damn thing, out and not holding our prestigious Pick'ems championship belt held by yours truly, Carlos, the Swiss Army Knife Martinez. Kirby, your thoughts?
It's going to be really exciting. It's coming down to the wire, and time will tell. Time will tell. Time will tell, Carlos.
Do we want history?
Sure.
Okay. Give me a second. Pulling them up.
Give us some history on the Kirby on Sports Pick'em up until this point.
Okay. So oh, wow. Okay. We did something last season. No. Yeah, we did something last season that we didn't do this season. We predicted final scores last year for the conference championship game.
We did do that.
Oh, whatever. We tend to usually do that during the Super Bowl, so I totally forget. Why did we do that? It's because we were all like 1 game within each other. So I was like, let's make it a little more interesting. Let's see if one of us can predict the scores. Anyways, jeez, this is so bad. So going into conference championship last year, we had Kirby's beautiful Commanders.
We'll never forget, baby. We'll never get there for another 20.
We had my Kansas City Chiefs against the Buffalo Bills. Just to remind everybody. Kirby, going into conference championship weekend last year, Dan was in last place, hilarious, at 79-39. My God, how far he has fallen. You and me were tied for first place at 80-38. A 13-game swing for you and a 12-game swing for me. We have been awful this year.
Wow. Crazy.
Indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, tune in next week to see, does the 3-time champion remain alive with a fighting chance, with a shot to take it all at the Super Bowl? Or do we have a brand new champion, and is the real battle between me and Kirby to see who actually finishes in second?
It will be a lot of fun to determine the winner as we get down to the nitty-gritty of the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. That wraps up episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. For Carlos, I'm Josh. Our sponsors, title sponsor Frederick County Parks and Recreation, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Bear Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, Icon Media, On the Road Driving School, New Look Landscaping, Barry Pearson with Equipment Share Advanced Solutions, and Don't Sleep Energy, the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. We missed you, Dan, but Carlos, glad to be on with you again, my friend, and looking forward to the nitty-gritty as we iron things out and figure out who will be the champion of the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. And let's hope for some more great football this weekend.
Let's hope that it's still me because, again, do you guys really want an outsider to be champion?
Well, I can tell you one thing. The fact is, I'm out of the Kirby zone.
It is a wonderful thing. It is a wonderful thing. It is about time. It's about time you finished anywhere but last place.
Hey.
And honestly, again, after what happened last year, where you had a pretty great season, you had a great picking season, but then the tiebreaker is what costed you.
Yep.
You left no doubt this time. No doubt to not be in last place. I'm proud of you, Kirby.
I ain't in last place. Dan, I'm sorry, brother. You in the Kirby zone. It's no longer me. Dan Dembski's in the Kirby zone. I think we need to make call the graphics department to make a Kirby zone graphic for that one.
Well, not unfortunately. I just didn't think of that. So yeah, you know what? We're gonna have to make something for him next week. He tried to evade it this week. But we won't let him off the hook.
Reality is coming for you, Dan. Just wait. Reality is coming. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 244 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Until next week, for Carlos, I am Josh Kirby, no longer in the Kirby zone, and we will catch you next time.